Hello, everyone. My name is Marius Schober, and I have always been this guy who is well known for being the one who's asking all of these uncomfortable and tough and challenging questions. And this is exactly what I want to talk with you about today, and what will also be the theme of this YouTube channel. We will talk about challenging questions, uncomfortable questions. And my goal with this channel and with this new project is really to ask questions about everything. And this video will be all about why questioning is so important, why you should as well question everything around you that you can think of. And this is exactly what I want to talk about today. I actually prepared myself for this one, so let's get right into it. Questioning. What does it mean to question? As I said, I was always this guy in school or in university, and you can ask all my teachers and you can ask my professors. I was always this guy who was always raising their hand and asking really challenging questions. When my teacher said something and I was like, does it really make sense? I was already questioning what he was teaching me, and I was questioning him like, does it really make sense? And then I was asking challenging questions, challenging him and his facts which he presented. And I'm really, really well known for being exactly this guy. Whether it is in school or in university or later as well in business and business meetings, everywhere I go and everything I encounter, I really question, especially when it comes from these status quo narratives, whether it is like this conventional wisdom from when it comes from the government, when it comes from big tech or from science. Then I'm really careful and I step back and I ask really questions. Hey, what is it all about? Is it true? Is it not true? Are they bullshitting me? What could be different? And I'm this kind of character, and it will be quite an interesting ride in this channel. But let's get back into the topic. Questioning. Why should you question, or what am I questioning? I'm questioning everything. And with everything, I literally mean everything. I just gave some examples, but for example, often, and you can see it probably behind me in some books, for example, health. I always ask myself, is this way of, for example, is this diet the right way? What can we do different? And I'm always questioning the workout I do. I question everything, and to the deepest core and to the last fiber of the orange. I'm really questioning everything to optimize my health, to optimize my sleep, to optimize my fitness, for example, but also to innovate. I really like to, when I think about business and doing business, I'm always thinking about doing things different. And to do things different, I always ask questions, challenging questions, tough questions about the business model, about the market, about things one could do different, where you can innovate with the product, maybe with a combination of hardware, software. It doesn't matter, but there as well, I'm asking questions with the intention to really innovate, to step forward, to discover something new. For example, and generally, this is also comes close to thinking outside of the box. I don't like to think, and it's like it's everyone is saying this, right? You have to think outside of the box, but this is not what I'm meaning. I really think that to think outside of the box, you cannot just sit down and start thinking outside of the box. Thinking outside of the box only comes by questioning, by asking these challenging questions about any topic, whatever the topic may be. And obviously also to call bullshit. We are living in an environment, in a world where everything gets thrown at us, and everything that is thrown at us, whether it is from the news, from some new bestseller books, or maybe it is from someone you follow on social media, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter. There are so many people who are just throwing bullshit at you, and you really have to be careful. And the way this is one strategy how I deal with bullshit, is to question it. So when someone is claiming something, for example, on Twitter or on social media, I always start to questioning it. I'm not the first guy who says, okay, I believe this, what he's saying 100% as a fact. But I'm the guy who steps back and says, okay, hey, stop, Marius. What is it all about? Is it true? Is it not true? Can it work? Can it not work? I'm doing some calculations in my brain, and then I come up with something there. It's probably not bullshit, or hey, this guy is bullshitting. And this is also one part of my bullshit detector, which I will probably make another video of someday in the future. And yeah, for example, to call bullshit, and this is something that is very important also in our society, because we are really full of toxic ideas, of fake news, and you really have to be careful whom you can trust and what you can actually follow through, whom you can follow, and what kind of diet you can follow, because there's just so much bullshit out there. And one thing that I'm also very passionate about, and this goes hand in hand with asking tough and challenging questions, is to detect and to fight corruption. We have in every state, and I believe that corruption is the root of every problem in the world, the root of all evil. And to get to the truth, to get the truth behind the corruption, to detect the corruption in the first place, it is very useful to ask questions again. And all of this comes down to ultimately finding the truth. It is all about the truth of life, of the universe. It's just the truth that I'm seeking. And questioning is the number one method, I think, to get to the truth. And when we add it all up, and when we look at the misery we see around the world, I believe, with the hand on my heart, I believe that questioning leads to the truth, and that the truth is the ultimate solution to all of our surrounding problems. Every problem and every misery you see is caused by some kind of bullshit, by some kind of corruption, by a lie, by some dishonesty, by some unethical things that are going on. And if you really question everything, you will find out what is unethical. You will find out what is a lie. You will find out what is bullshit. You will find out also, like science, and we will talk about this later. Science is not always is not a fact. Science is basically, how can I describe it best? Science did experiments in the past, and it's a certainty that something is false. It's not that something is 100% right, but science is about the certainty that something is false. And I think really that by questioning we can get to the truth, and with the truth we can solve all of the problems within the world, and you will solve all of the problems you have within yourself. This is what I deeply believe. And this questioning is something that children do intuitively. So what is it? Children, if you think about children, they really question everything intuitively. So they don't, because parents don't ask questions anymore. They are uncomfortable with asking tough and maybe stupid questions. What is the case is that children, they get born and they start to challenge everything. They try to explore their environment. They try to make sense of everything they are seeing, and they do this by asking countless questions to the parents and so on. And basically, before we can explain why the grass is green, they already dive into the science and the philosophy of life, of space, of time. They really dig deep into everything in our universe. They really ask questions that it makes you really wonder why we adults don't do this anymore. And it's just a beautiful example. They really, by questioning, and you really see it when you look at children especially, they really explore complex ideas. For example, why is the grass green? They ask questions. Why is this falling down? Most of the adults, they grow up and they don't even have this curiosity anymore. Why is something falling down? Yeah. Why is the grass green? We don't have this curiosity anymore. But children, they grow up and they ask the questions. And by asking questions, these other children, they really explore all of these complex ideas and complex also science. They explore it by asking questions. And this is something that is really interesting. Also, to uncover questioning is also useful to uncover implicit assumptions. So assumptions you might have about something, and then if you really ask, and you also see this with children when they are asking questions and questions and questions and questions, but it really is helpful to uncover implicit assumptions you might have. But also it exposes deeply held beliefs about something. So if you have a believe about something, and if you just keep asking questions, and then you will somehow arrive at the truth, and it might turn out that that thing that is your belief of something is not true at all. And questioning is really digging deep into it and solving this. Then also questioning is helpful to recognize hidden contradictions. So if you never ask questions, you might never even discover these kind of contradictions. So questioning, to make it short, children explore all of these naturally. They don't think about it. They are just asking questions, and they never think about asking, but they are just curious. They want to find out all of the mysteries of our life, and they just show that questioning is part of our natural intelligence. Yeah, we grow up and we somehow we transform from children to becoming teenagers and then being adults, and it is somehow very hard to keep all of this curiosity and all of this skepticism maybe as well. Yeah, all of this curiosity, because somehow you grow up, you grow older, and you lose a lot of it. I know very few adults who are really asking questions. It is really rare. We will talk about this a little bit later. Why might this be the case? Why are children growing up and why do children, when they grow up, lose their curiosity about everything, about life, about science, about nature, what they discover in nature? Why do they lose it? I believe it is because of our education system. Because our education system, as soon as you're 6 years old, basically, with 6 years, you go into the school, and then you are entering an education system which is entirely based on dogma. And with dogma, you just get fed all of this knowledge, a lot of bullshit as well. And you change from 6 years on. You change to become a different person, because you stop challenging, you stop asking these questions in nature, you stop asking and exploring. You don't touch just the grass and ask, hey, why is it green, why is it wet, why is the sun shining, why do I see stars? You see, when you're really a child, you're really curious, you're asking this, you want to explore. But as soon as you're 6 years old, you go into the school system, into the education system, and you get fed with all the dogma. And from 6 years on, you also start to memorize facts. So it's not about exploring and asking questions anymore, but from 6 years on, basically you have a teacher, and the teacher is telling you the facts. The facts. Facts. Yeah. And you start memorizing all of these facts. You have to memorize them. Then you are tested, and you just take for granted, okay, what someone is telling me is a fact. Yeah, the teacher is telling me something, it has to be a fact. I just memorize it. I don't even interact with it anymore. And this is how children, I believe, lose their curiosity. They lose their skepticism, their natural skepticism, their natural doubt about everything, because we push them into an education system which is the opposite. They are just presenting the facts, you have to memorize them, and then, you don't challenge these facts. You don't challenge the status quo. That's what they teach you in school. And that's why I believe so many or so few people today are questioning what is happening in politics. So few scientists are really questioning fundamental theories. Yeah, I believe that there are many fundamental theories in physics which are wrong. This is what I truly believe, and I am asking questions to get to the truth. I haven't arrived at the truth, but my goal is in my lifetime to arrive at the truth. For example, what I am always asking myself is, how does it come that there's nothing faster than light? I believe there is a speed or a dimension. I don't know. I'm asking questions to get there. But for example, this is just an example. I believe there's something faster than light, and I'm asking questions. I'm asking always when I'm seeing someone who is coming out of the physics. I'm asking him all of these. It's for him, it's uncomfortable, it's challenging, because he is 100% believing in the fundamental theories of physics, you know. And I'm challenging not everything in physics, but some parts of it, and that is really challenging him. And by challenging him, maybe I might also turn a switch, and he's also thinking then outside of the box in the future and saying, hey, maybe Marisa is right, there is something faster than light, why am I not working on it? And this is just one example. Back to the topics. And in school, back to the school example, you go into the school from 6 years on until you are it continues in university, right? From 6 years until you're 26, 20 years long. Every day you are forced to memorize facts. You have a test about everything, and you have to memorize it. You have a test, you write it down. What's a memorized fact, the solution, which is you haven't even come up with your own solution, because you just memorize what the lecturer or the teacher has taught you. And then you just write it down, and this is how you move on in your career. And over these 20 years, basically from 6 to 26, every day you get indoctrinated this assumption that you cannot challenge the status quo. There are facts which you cannot challenge. And I think this is really bad. And in fact, by challenging the facts, it's more like it really gets punished. It's not like you cannot ask the question, but if you continue to ask questions, as I was in school, to be honest, I was this guy sitting there, and I was always like, hey, teacher. Why is it that way? Why? No, this is, teacher, I don't believe this is stupid. There should be something else. I was this guy saying this all over again. And because of this, I got in trouble and I got punished for it. I didn't have the best grades because I did this. Because there were the teachers and also many professors, they are more comfortable with the pupils or with the students who are very conforming, who are really very, who don't challenge what they teach. So we get basically taught from 6 years to 26 that challenging the facts gets punished. You shouldn't. There are facts and you cannot challenge them. And these facts, we memorize them, we write them down as a test, as I said, and we never really engage with this knowledge. So we don't start from scratch, we don't question it, we don't dive deep into this topic. We are not chewing on the topic as we should maybe in our brain, but we just memorize it, we take it for granted that it's true, and we save it basically in our memory, which I think is bad, because this is also a problem with learning. If I think about what I can remember from my school years, when it comes to physics, chemistry or biology, or when it comes to my university years even, what can I remember, what I learned over 6-7 exams in finance? I would have to look it up all over again in the internet and see, okay, what did I learn, how does it work, because you're just learning it for tests and that's it. And this is why many people also have problems with learning. You just memorize it, you never interact with it, you never deal with it, and this is why you really you can't build upon it. You have the knowledge maybe in your brain, but because you never used it, you never touched it, you cannot build upon it. You cannot find new solutions to problems you see in the world, because you might have the knowledge in your head, but you don't know how to access it, and you don't know how to use it. This is what I think. So in the end, to summarize this point is, I think we should, instead of lecturing students instead of lecturing also our children, we should focus on questioning. We should question our students. And here is where it gets interesting, because I also looked into questioning from a historical perspective. And the first example which I want to bring up is actually the Buddha. The Buddha has encouraged really questioning. And because the Buddha really encouraged this questioning, it became a fundamental skill of Buddhism. And questioning is still practiced today in Buddhism, and it is called a practice of debate. So Tibetan Buddhist monks really have a daily, not all of them probably, but many of them have a daily practice called debating or debate. And for 1 hour, they are just 2 monks, and they are just sitting down, and one monk is asking challenging questions to the other monk for 1 hour. He's just asking questions. It's basically one-sided as far as I read into it, but this is really then training with the purpose of training the logic, mental concentration, and also the intense exchange of between these 2 monks, for example, because you really get pushed. You get asked all of these challenging questions, and you really have to yourself to answer these challenging questions. You have to dig really deep into it to answer these. And that's exactly the purpose of these Buddhist daily practice of debate, which I find very interesting, and is actually something I would love to do. And the next example, and this is a little bit more known to everyone who studied or who is into philosophy a little bit, is Socrates. Socrates was well known as a questioner of everything. He was questioning everything, and he was really, and he's still today known for being the questioner of everything. And he wasn't only questioning everything himself, but he was also teaching his students, his pupils, that his students basically, for him, questioning was a teaching method. He didn't lecture them. He didn't give his students his opinion or his facts, which he thought to be true. Instead, he taught all of his students to question facts, to question philosophy, to question everything. And by questioning everything, they were exploring the unknown. And they were also able to evaluate the validity of arguments, for example. So what Socrates did is he forced his students, he asked his students question after question after question after question after question. And he was asking questions so long until the students had an own understanding of a certain topic, of a certain philosophy, until they came up with their own theory of something, until the students came up with a solution themselves, and not, as we know it from our school system, being taught the solution and then remembering. So, and Socrates, he also most famously died for his questioning attitude. So he was basically sentenced to death because of his teaching method, of his questioning teaching method. And I think maybe it would even happen today, because if you just look around at the world, if you really teach people critical thinking, if you teach them to question everything they see, to question the authorities, to question the government, to question it, I think it is understandable why they came up, why he ended up being sentenced to death back then in Greece. Because if you're asking questions, I know it from my own experience in school and in university, if you really push hard, challenging questions, you're not going to be very popular. This is what I can promise you for sure. So Socrates died exactly with his questioning attitude, and he became somehow a legend, and not only a legend, but like this idol of philosophers were now creating new theories and philosophies around this topic of questioning. Then there is, I want to talk about Chavrusa. Chavrusa, I don't know if I pronounce it now 100% correctly, but Chavrusa is a traditional Jewish learning method. And I found this to be very interesting because it's the entire opposite of what we do in our Western school system. What Chavrusa is doing, it is really challenging a small group of people. I think 2, 3, 4 people are sitting together in a small group, and Chavrusa is challenging them to analyze first a text. They are analyzing a text, and then they have to explain the learning material to each other. So there are 2, 3, 4 people at a table, and they read it, they analyzed it, and now the next step is they have to explain the concept, the text, to each other. Okay, this is the first step basically. Then, after everyone explained what they learned from the text, they have to point out errors in the others' ideas and in the others' reasoning. So basically, within the group of 2, 3, 4 people, you're saying, hey, I think you have a fault in the reasoning, and they're really pressing, And then the last step, and this is the point about questioning, they then end up sharpening each other's ideas by questioning them. So they analyzed the text, they understood it, they came up with their own, theories, their understanding of it. And then they are in a small group and everyone is challenging you, asking you tough questions about your theory. And it turns out that with the Chavrusa, they are often able to come up with entirely new insights into the meaning of, for example, a text. Even though the text has been analyzed, 100,000 times before, still they are able to come up with a new meaning for it. And why I think that Chavrusa is very interesting is because it shows, first of all, the contrast of the Chavrusa system of learning and our education system, our university system. Is just the opposite. You have to discover, you have to ask questions, you have to refine your ideas, you have to challenge your own ideas, and then you have to come up with, a theory of something, which I think is very interesting. And what the Chavrusa is also doing with the Chavrusa learning method, or also what Socrates did, or what the Buddha is doing, they are taking the familiar away, and the familiar is the truth, the fact, for example, in university, you are presented a fact, okay? You're presented a fact, you have to memorize it. And the Chavrusa, you don't have this fact. It is taken away from you. And because this fact is taken away from you, you have to, the entire topic, the entire text becomes mysterious again. And this entire mysterious, how can I call it? By making it mysterious again, you're creating a new excitement on a topic. And with this new excitement, you come up with your own solutions, with your own ideas, with your own reasoning, and you really learn about the topic itself. So in the end, instead of memorizing what the Chavrusa, for example, is doing, but also the questioning and learning method, which I'm talking about here, it is really exploring really complex ideas on your own, which I think is really a skill. So instead of memorizing, you are uncovering implicit assumptions. You expose deeply held beliefs. You recognize hidden contradictions. You develop your own senses. You think more clearly, and you change the way you perceive reality. Yeah, this is all a result of questioning, basically. Yeah, by questioning and going deep into the topic, by doing critical thinking. And our education system is the problem again, let's talk a little bit about this. The thing about the education system is our education system is not only focusing on lecturing facts. This is one problem, but the next problem is they try to put everything like into a tiny little subject. They just push it into a little subject. And what we end up having is, instead of a universe, if you go out at night and look into the sky, you see so much, you see everything. You see, when I go out, I see millions or billions of stars. And when I just look up for 10 minutes and I just look into the sky, I see the oneness of everything. Okay, I see the oneness. I see, for example, the speed of light. I see these stars, which I see right now. The light has traveled so and so fast. How can we reach them? It makes me curious. I ask questions. Okay, how can we reach them? What can be faster than light? But also about consciousness. Yeah, you look into the sky and you really realize how meaningless we are on Earth, and especially you are as a person. And this is what to make it short, this is the wholeness of the universe. It is not only about one topic, and this may be the speed of light, this is a physical theory, but it is about everything. It is about the enormous size of the universe, the wholeness, stars, speed of light, consciousness, why we are here on Earth, and everything comes together. And this is what I find so interesting. But education is doing the opposite. They really dissect everything into very small categories. You have then a subject 1, subject 2, subject 3, for example, physics, and then within physics you have again smaller subjects, and then you have tiny subjects. Everything is looked upon independently, and you don't look into philosophy and spirituality when you're studying physics, because this is not something you are supposed to do, right? And I think this is the next real big problem, and also one reason why nobody is really questioning anything anymore. And what it all creates, these categorizing of subjects and thinking into, like, it just creates narrow-minded thinking. Narrow-minded thinking because you're so narrow in your speciality, you are so deep in your physical theory that you don't see the whole. You don't see what some, let's say, spiritual gurus have been teaching for over 1,000 years, because you don't touch it, because you say, no, spirituality, it's nothing for me. I am deep into my logic. I'm deep into physics. And this is why you have a narrow view onto one topic, and you don't see what's happening on the right or on the left, what's happening in the spiritual realm. We can also talk about psychedelics. You don't see it. You're not open to it. You say, okay, psychedelics, these are drugs, even though they are not drugs. You don't even look at it. That's because you really go into this narrow-minded thinking. And what this narrow-minded thinking ended up doing is it presented us with a very abstract science and very abstract philosophies. Yeah. So it is basically, we arrived at science, and we arrived at philosophy which are purely abstract. They are focused on terminology. Yeah. And because they are focusing so much on terminology and about because they are so abstract, they are basically, how can I explain? They are dividing the world by being so abstract and narrow-minded. They are, as I just explained, you are dividing the world into two realms. There's a science and there's a creativity, or the philosophies. Yeah, you have two. You have the spiritual, you have the philosophies, you have the creativity, and on the other side you have the logic, you have the science, you have mathematics. And this is really dividing the world, and by separating this logic and the creativity, I personally think that we miss the existential truth. Okay, because back to the basic example, I talked about the, for example, physics, right? We were talking about the speed of light. If you're really narrow-mindedly focusing only in the topic of physics, on this topic, you say, okay, this is fact. I don't challenge it anymore. We cannot go faster than light. But then if you go into, for example, the spiritual, or the also the spiritual, including the psychedelic space, you might realize that, hey, maybe this is not true. There are different dimensions which we don't understand. We have to find it out. And then maybe there are some other disciplines which are also interacting with it, right? There are some stories about near-death experiences. There are stories about people who got basically, I think there are some experiences from humans who got captured by aliens and they were basically beamed up on a spaceship. I mean, it can really go crazy, but by being narrow-minded and saying this is not true and this is not true, only this is the fact, you are closing yourself to the existential and whole truth, because you're just looking at the narrow truth. And this is why I really believe we should never separate logic and creativity. And to give you another example, for example, let's say you know everything about the brain. You know neurochemistry, you know neurobiology, you know all of that stuff. You know everything about the brain. Does this now mean that you understand consciousness? No, it does not mean that you understand consciousness. Not at all. You cannot understand consciousness because you're separating the subject. If you just look at one subject alone, you cannot understand the whole. Yeah? Just by looking at physics alone, you will never understand consciousness. But when you open yourself up to all the to the oneness, I want to say, to the entire universe. Yeah, this includes the spiritual realm, the religion, the physics, the science, the logic, the mathematics. If you open yourself up to all of this, to creativity, you are so much closer to getting to the truth than if you just look narrowly on physics and you want to find out what consciousness is. You will never find out what consciousness is if you don't open up yourself to everything. Okay? So in the end, just to make it short, separating the logic and the creativity is complete bullshit. It's nonsense. It makes no sense. Why? It is. Let's look at the word creativity itself. Creativity. It is coming from the word create. You create something. It's not only to create arts or to create a painting, to create music, but it's just as well creating plans. To create a plan, an action plan for a business, for a scientific experiment. It is creating logical rules which you can observe in nature, creating sciences, yeah, creating inventions. It is all about creating, and this is creativity. It's not, creativity isn't only about what we narrow it down to. So it's not only about the art and about the music and about even about the ballet or something, you know. It's not only about the theater and cinema. It's not only about this. Creativity is about everything that you can create, that you can discover. So in the name itself, creativity, it already is telling us that it's complete nonsense to separate creativity and logic, to create science and creativity. It just makes no sense. Philosophy and science are one. This is what I believe. And if we look back into the past, and this isn't too long ago, it was, I think, around the second millennia, around half of the second millennium, that we really began to experiment and use data to understand the world. But before that, logic and creativity, science and philosophy, they went hand in hand, okay? They were completely connected. They were inseparably intertwined. It was as if it was one. It was one discipline. You couldn't do science without philosophy. You couldn't do philosophy without science, which I think is very interesting. And both the logical argument and the creative thinking were before used to understand the world, to explain the natural world. But somehow, since we focused more on the data and more on the how can I say that? Yeah, since we focused more on the data, we really departed from the philosophies, and from there on, it became two different, not sciences. They become completely separated ideas. Yeah, so back in the days, you were really seeing philosophers questioning scientists, or scientists questioning philosophers. They were discussing ideas together. Yeah, it was hand in hand. They were always together. And today, if you really think about it, when was the last time you really saw a debate of a scientist and a philosopher? And you read, like, if you go into the universities of today, the philosophy department is in one building, the science department is another, and it's like it's a completely different world. You know, there's the science and there's the philosophy, and it's in our mind, even in our thinking, it's separated, but it's not separated. And this is exactly what we need. We need philosophers who are questioning the scientists, and we need scientists who are questioning the philosophers. And only by doing this, we are getting back to this, what I call the wholeness, the oneness of the universe. And only by doing so, we can really find the solutions to problems. We can only discover new things by not looking at each thing separately. Okay? And this, as I just said, hasn't always been the case. And I think we should really go back. We should go back and merge it again. Merge philosophy with science. Merge everything. Okay? We have to be open-minded. We have to create, I wrote down here, we have to create a unified art of science. Okay? Integrating all the aspects of art, science, philosophy, and practical creation. And by doing so, we really create one unified art of science, which I think is very interesting. And not only interesting, I even really truly believe that this is necessary for us to move forward, to come up with new ideas, to come up with solutions, to discover new things. And this is a point which is not only, it's not to you, it is only advice to myself, and it is advice, I think, to everyone. We shouldn't categorize ourselves into one category. Yeah, we have to be open-minded. So you shouldn't say, I'm a scientist, or I'm an artist, or I'm a musician, or I'm a businessman. You are everything. You have to be everything. So if you're a businessman, you have a certain problem, and if you only look at it from a business perspective or a finance perspective, you might never find a solution. But if you are everything, you are everything. You're a creative artist, you are a scientist, you're a businessman, you are a philosopher, you are even religious, you are spiritual. And if you are everything, then you can really look at the problem again, and then you can really find the solution. And this is why I really think we should never categorize ourselves as being something, a scientist or an artist. Okay? And this is, of course, also true for if you say to yourself, I'm a logical person, or I'm a creative person, or I'm good with numbers, or I'm good with my hands. By saying this to yourself, you are also categorizing yourself into one category, and by doing so, you are basically shutting your eyes into all other directions. Then, because you think I'm only good with my hands, or I'm only good with numbers, with logic, and then you don't look into the other things. You don't try to play the guitar. You don't try to make an art painting. Okay. And this is really thing what you should we all should not do. We should not categorize ourselves based on a title, based on an activity, or based on an occupation we might have as our job, for example. We should never do this. We should just see ourselves as human beings, as someone who's doing everything, so to say, right? And by doing so, I think we can really grasp. So by becoming everything, by becoming open to everything, I think we can really grasp the wholeness of everything again. And by doing so, what we are looking at right now, and you often see this on YouTube, and there are many people writing books about it, giving workshops about innovation, about going from 0 to 1, as Peter Thiel called it, or about rethinking something, reinventing something. You hear all of it. All of this innovation thing is, I believe, natural. It should be natural. And if you really open yourself up to everything again, you're opening yourself up to innovation. You're opening yourself up to rethinking, to finding something where you can go from 0 to 1. But it only works if you're open-minded, and if you really combine different disciplines. If you combine physics with arts, if you combine arts with music, and if you're just open to everything, with the spiritual and everything, if you combine everything, I really believe that innovation becomes something that is natural to us. And by doing so, by becoming open to everything, and if we think about projecting this idea of questioning and becoming open to everything and not narrowing down on one specific topic, I think we can really uplift humanity. I think we can really enter a new era of prosperity, a new era of new discoveries, of new inventions, which we right now might never think about, because we are still right now very narrow-minded, thinking about problems and not coming up with new discoveries, right? And so to make it to summarize, I really think that if we really can grasp the wholeness of everything, we can really restore this natural state of our inner being, which is innovation, which is discovering new things, which is questioning things, and which is being skeptic about something, which is which is just this inner curiosity. It will reawake this inner curiosity when we really look at everything from a wholeness. So this is really important. Let me summarize. You should really forget about categorizing yourself into one category, like an artist, a scientist, or philosopher, or just the same as I'm a logical person, I'm a creative person, I'm good with the hands, I'm good with logic. Art and science are one. Art and science are one, and this means that you have to do everything. You have to be open to everything to discover everything. Okay, so what could you do? For example, if you are a very logical person, you're only into programming, you're only into physics, into chemistry, into the sciences, and you're very logical, then you could start by picking up a creative hobby. Yeah, you can start making music, whether it is just the drum really, or if it's a guitar you pick up, or if you learn the piano, or if you just go to the store, you buy a canvas and you start drawing, you start painting, you become creative. And by doing so, because you have previously been a very logical person, and by now opening yourself up to creativity, you are realizing that the world, the universe, is more than just your logical mind. It's more than just facts and logic. It is about so much more. And this is what you will realize. And on the other hand, if you are a very creative person, and if you say to yourself right now, I'm the creative person, I'm bad in math, I'm bad in physics, I don't understand it, I've always been bad in school, be open-minded and learn mathematics. Start really with the basics. There are great resources online, for example, Khan Academy, where you can really learn from the first class on math and teach yourself math, teach yourself physics. And by doing so, you will really see because you're coming right now from a creative background, from a creative mind, you will now realize the significance of logic, why it is so important, why it is so important to also move forward in your creative career maybe. So if you're a logical person, pick up some creative things you can do, making music or drawing or painting. On the other side, if you're a creative person, pick up some logical stuff. It might also be programming. It might be mathematics. I think mathematics might even be the best way to start. Or physics. Start and do something logical. This way we can really, you see that logic and creativity and art and science are all one. You cannot just use one and be narrow-mindedly focused on it. And let me summarize maybe what I want to share with you in this video. I think that really to move humanity forward, to solve so many issues we have in the world, if it's world hunger, if it's what we are seeing now, it's inflation, if we see wars, if we see it's just a crazy world outside, and it doesn't matter where you look, you will always find problems. Some are really big, like big corruption in some countries, big hidden corruptions in even I think in the EU level, in countries like even Germany, Spain, the USA. You think they are not corrupt, but they're very corrupt. And by really questioning, you will find problems. And by questioning, you will find also new solutions. You will find new discoveries. You will find new inventions. For example, I 100% believe there is something faster than light. And by questioning and researching and diving deep into this topic, our human species, can find solutions and can find the answers to it. And just imagine a world where you have abundant free energy, where you have speed faster than light, where you have space travel, where you fly to the asteroids and if you mine them, where you just have a world of abundance. And I think that the world of abundance can be created by questioning everything you hear in university, in school, by questioning everything you see in nature, you discover in nature, question it, and then really apply critical thinking, and then really chew on it. Don't just ask Google, but really sit down on the topic, chew on it, ask questions, and maybe before you even Google something, it's a nice idea I have right now. Before you Google something, maybe think for yourself. Before you, for example, you don't understand something you observe in nature, before you pick up the phone and search for the facts, try to come up with a solution or an explanation yourself. This is how you really teach critical thinking and thinking itself, which I think is so important. And to do back to the topic of discoveries, inventions, I think to really come up with new discoveries and new inventions, and to really get to this level of a society in the world where we have an abundance of everything, we have to start thinking for ourselves again. We cannot just sit here and accept everything a physics professor is telling us. We have to question it. We have to find new ways of doing it. And this may be physics, and you have to be open-minded with the spiritual realm, with psychedelics maybe. It might be with the art, maybe even drawing or painting is helping you. And maybe if we do exactly this, and this is something actually while I'm talking about this, which Richard Feynman did. He also did all kinds of crazy stuff. He was in Brazil dancing with the carnival. He was going to the bars and picking up women. And he created revolutionary physical theories, which still hold true today. And I was just thinking about this right now, he was actually doing and applying this. He wasn't focused on one thing. He was open to religion, to spirituality, to carnival, to dancing, to art and everything. And this is what every one of us should do. We shouldn't focus ourselves, open ourselves up to everything again, and then we can really start thinking for ourselves again. And one problem that maybe you are yourself doing right now, is that basically everyone is thinking that they are thinking for themselves. We are thinking that we are thinking for ourselves, which is complete bullshit. Because if you think back to the topic I talked about in the beginning, you enter with 6 years a school system, an education system, where over 20 years you are basically conditioned with all kinds of dogma. You are conditioned with this is right, don't do this, you cannot ask questions, this is absolute fact. And because over 20 years, if you really pour it into the minds of young people over and over and over and over again, it sticks, it's in your mind. And we have to first really try to open up again. This is what I think. And we have been conditioned, I have been conditioned, you have been conditioned, everyone who has been in an education system like this has been conditioned. And if you think you're thinking for themselves, it's bullshit. And another example, which is not related to this topic, it's related to everything, but I don't want to dive deep into this right now, is also the mimetic theory of René Girard. He's also saying exactly this. You're not thinking for yourself. You don't have your own desires. You are picking up everything that you want from other people around you. For example, if I surround myself with only with physicists, then I will probably be very narrow-mindedly in this physics space. I will want what they want. I will try to achieve what they want to achieve, what they have achieved. I want to publish more scientific papers, peer-reviewed papers. Maybe that's the goal. And we are not moving forward. But instead, if we stop mimicking what other people want, what other people desire, if we try to, it is impossible, but if we try to find ourselves, if you just free ourselves from all this mimesis, from all this indoctrinated dogma, from all of our limiting beliefs. As I said, I'm a scientist, or I'm an artist. If we just free ourselves from all of this, and if we start thinking critically with it, I really think that we can find exciting, new, great inventions, discoveries, scientific theories which are challenging everything we might believe today. We might find new dimensions which we are not aware of right now. And yeah, we have to do it. And to do all of this, you have to skepticism. You cannot just go through life and accept everything. If it's in school, I was always skeptical about everything the teacher was saying, the professor was saying. I was skeptical. I wasn't, hey, this is a fact, I save it, it's true, but I was skeptical. Hey, nobody's right. This professor hasn't the universal truths. We should really dig deep into it. And I think now, looking back, I really did this. I looked at the wholeness and then tried to challenge him. So, just free our mind from all of this dogma, from all of this conventional wisdom, and then we can really discover new concepts, new discoveries, inventions. But not only this, I think we can, first of all, the first step, what's going to happen, you will also discover what you want in your life, what you want to achieve in your life, what you want to discover, which is basically this purpose question. If you really question everything, you will find out what it is that you want to discover, what your purpose is. And well, how should I end this beautiful topic of questioning? Maybe one other point I want to talk about is that if you think about discovery right now, because I always talked about inventions and scientific discoveries, it is not that you have to sit down endlessly and try to find a solution to the speed which is faster than light. This is not what I mean. Discovery can also mean something completely different. Yeah, it can be a practical mission. Maybe you have a vision of a product, you have a vision for a company, you have a vision for a software. Yeah, if you discover, for example, a new algorithm, if you discover a new thing, new way of doing things more efficiently, this is also discovery. It doesn't have to be complete, over the top scientific theory about the entire world. No, this is not what I'm talking about. I'm thinking about discovery, about new ideas, about new ways of doing things, about new methods, and so on and so on. And this entire discovery process is a journey. It is not happening today. You will not sit down today and discover something. It is a journey, and you will be committed to this journey. For example, I am completely committed to this idea of speed, which is faster than light, which would then enable space travel and so on. Whether I find it or maybe I find someone who I can support, who can find the solution, it doesn't matter. But I'm really, this is my journey, maybe, that I really start to challenge everything, and through challenging everything, coming up with new ideas, new theories, new physical theories, and so on. And one of the last points I want to make is it is so important to be humble, because ultimately what we are all talking about here is to find the truth. The truth, and there's not only one truth, but maybe there are several truths about different topics. But we're talking about finding truth. And we can only find the truth if we are completely open-minded. Yeah. And as soon as we have our ego involved, and let's think about back to the topic of the Buddhist monk, yeah, or of the Chavras, was it Chavrusa? I'm sorry, of the Chavrusa, of the Buddhist monk. What they are doing there, it is only possible, the Chavrusa system, which I talked about, or the Buddhist practice of debate. It only works if you minimize your ego, if you turn off your ego. Because the ego always wants to have the best argument, the better argument. And by always trying to have the best argument and arguing about having the best or having the truth, you are prevented from actually finding the truth, because you just try to be right. You don't try to find the truth. So this is why I think be humble and turn off or minimize your ego along the way when you try to find new ways of doing things, and so on and so on. And again, question everything. You have to question everything. I know it can be hard, and it could be, you will be afraid to ask challenging questions, because why is it so? Maybe why are people afraid of asking challenging questions? I think it is because, imagine you ask a challenging questions and you stumble upon something, and it turns out that everything so far in your entire life has been wrong. Yeah, everything that you think about is not true. Yeah, it is really like a real reset. It pushes you to the bottom, and you have to get up again and then start all over again. And I think this is something that maybe frightens many people. This is why we try not to question everything too hard. But questioning everything, be honest with yourself. It will hurt, but it is worth it. I think it's not only worth it, it is the absolute, it is our, how do I say it? It's our purpose in life. Our purpose on earth, we came here to be all we can be. And we can only be all we can be by asking questions. This is what I think. Because only through asking questions, you will go to the truth. And only with the truth, you can be all you can be. So this is it. This is really it. Questioning leads to the truth. And only with the truth, you can become all you can be. You can really fulfill your entire potential. The potential of yourself, of your family, of your company. And this is what makes it so worth it. So I really think that we are entering a new age of great discoveries, of abundance, of everything, if we collectively all together start questioning everything around us. Yeah, it starts with the politics, it starts with also with the science, it starts with everything you can observe in nature. Challenge it, question it. And I think by doing so, we will enter a period of prosperity, of endless joy, and by doing so, we can create a better world for everyone. So question everything. Until the next time.